You know that earlier today, Pakistani warplanes struck the capital of Afghanistan, Kabul, and its second city, Kandahar, and a third city and other locations. It's believed they may have killed more than 200 militant stroke Taliban soldiers, and the Afghanis claim that they in return have killed something like 50 Pakistani soldiers. The airstrikes took place in the middle of the night and this morning, and loud explosions heard all over Kabul. One local was quoted, she said that it sounded like an earthquake. The attacks that the Afghanis launched, they claim, were on Thursday, and this was along the Durand Line, which is the disputed border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. This has been the scene of bloody clashes in two particular areas of border crossings for months now, and it stems from the long-held belief by the Pashtun Taliban. This disputed border, the Durand Line, which was built in 1893 by Sir Mortimer Durand, a British diplomat, was there it was all part of the Great Game, a kind of buffer between what was then the British Indian Empire and the Soviet Union, with Afghanistan in between. And in 2017, the Pakistani authorities started putting huge numbers of watchtowers along that border with razor wire fences, obviously causing huge offence to the Baloch and Pashtun tribes. But don't forget that most of the Taliban are Pashtun, who exist on either side of the border, making communications between them much more difficult. And they've argued that this shouldn't, that this border shouldn't exist anyway. It's believed that the Taliban claim they have hit back against these airstrikes with drone attacks on Abbottabad, which is where the military town north of Islamabad, which is where Osama bin Laden, the mastermind of 9/11 and former leader of Al-Qaeda, was in hiding before being killed by Navy SEAL Team 6. The Pakistanis claim that they've thwarted all of these drone attacks, but I would expect that we will see, what's called asymmetrical warfare from the Taliban in terms of terror attacks across the border, and they do have contacts across the border with going with a lot of disparate militant groups. I don't think it'll be resolved quickly. I think it may peter out over weeks. It's not certain. The reason for this is that the Taliban have no interest whatsoever in appeasing Pakistan, because they, for many, many years, have objected to this Durand Line, which the Pakistan authorities have tried to put razor wire across. This effectively splits up two tribes, the Balochs and, perhaps more significantly, the Pashtun, who make up most of the Taliban. The Taliban have never believed that they should answer to the Pakistanis in crossing over into what, from one may to be, in a land which they argue is theirs anyway. Also, the Taliban, they fear more than anything at the moment other fighters from the various groups within Afghanistan and over the border in Pakistan joining ISIS in the Khorasan. So Islamic State has been making merry for several years now, spreading its influence across parts of India, Pakistan and Afghanistan, which is loosely called the Khorasan, and growing their numbers. So disaffected, unhappy, banned jihadist groups and Taliban fighters from both the Pakistani Taliban and the Afghan Taliban have been joining ISIS, basically, possibly because they're earning more money per month by doing so. Pakistan has a very dual, and has always had a very dual attitude towards Afghanistan, as a kind of backstop, a buffer, if you like, an extension of Islam across its border, which buffers and prevents against what it fears most of all, which is being surrounded by India. So not only that, but the Pakistani Inter-Services Intelligence Agency is said to have supported largely the Taliban and the Mujahideen in Afghanistan against Soviet occupation from 79 to 89, and the post 9/11 US-led coalition, which entered Afghanistan in 2001, supporting the Taliban with arms and that sort of thing. Now, when the coalition left in 2021, the Taliban took over, having organized a kind of shadow government in most areas of Afghanistan, very, very strategic and covertly, but then suddenly they uprose and took over Kabul. So there hasn't perhaps been that kind of relationship since then, and things have worsened and worsened between Pakistan and Afghanistan. What's interesting about these strikes is they've largely been against the Taliban regime rather than what the Pakistanis would call terrorist targets. So government buildings and that sort of thing. I don't think this will turn into a conventional warfare at all. I mean, the Pakistani armed forces are the 15th largest in the world, which is considerable. It's got an air force, a ground army, and special forces. It's also got a very sophisticated intelligence network and capability across the region. The Taliban, on the other hand, are lightly armed with artillery, some tanks, some of which have been destroyed already. And what arms they do have are a kind of legacy from when the US-led coalition left in 2021, and whichever arms it was able to buy on the arms market in places like Qatar. So I would expect that what Pakistan is worried about more than anything is the Taliban either influencing disparate terror groups within Pakistan to launch terror attacks, which Pakistan accuses it of having done for the past year anyway. This has come, of course, at a terrible time, because the window for America's major decision on when and whether to strike Iran in response to Iran's refusal to accept its demands on nuclear weapons and the nuclear program is narrowing very, very fast. It's looking like a decision on strikes on Iran is imminent, and that means that there could be strikes very, very soon. Whether what's going on between Pakistan and Afghanistan will add to that tension or affect it, we don't, remains to be seen how that develops.